Hello, everyone. My name is James Fountain, and welcome to our third year of the ICBE Spring Webinar Series. We are so glad that you were able to join us today. This is our second webinar this spring, and we hope this webinar is as beneficial as our January webinar, which was delivered by Drs. Molly and Dr. Miller of South Texas College. In this webinar, you're going to hear from Carlos Rivers and myself on ROI of CBE. This presentation will last roughly 40 to 45 minutes, with about 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. If you have any questions along the way, please log them in the question box, and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. Carlos and I will be reviewing questions and comments throughout the webinar. So let's get started. Carlos will introduce himself, and then I'll do the same, and we'll go from there.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carlos Rivers. I'm the Operations Research Analyst for the Institute for Competency-Based Education at A&M Commerce. And my task specifically is to showcase our data and the results that competency-based education is having throughout the state.
Perfect. And my name is James Fountain. I'm the Executive Director for the Institute for Competency-Based Education, and I'm the lucky guy that gets to work with Carlos Rivers every single day. And so if you have ever been around one of those people where it's like, there's that guy, I get to work with that guy. So I feel really blessed and lucky about that. So let's jump on into this one. In this, we're going to give a university overview, a CBE program review. We're going to talk about semester credit hours, as well as FTSE, revenue and expense, cost allocation, program profit and loss, along with formula funding, break-even point estimations, a P&L forecast, and a section for Q&A.
So I'm hoping you guys like numbers, because this presentation is all about the numbers.
Absolutely. All right. So giving you some background here on this. Our university was founded in 1889. We're a public university. We're doctoral. We have roughly about 13,000 students, of which 60% are undergrad. And we've got kind of a high graduate number of being around 40%. Now, CBE on our campus, I have to throw this plug out there, we've just launched our second CBE program. But with our singular CBE program, we started with 7, and it's now the second largest undergrad program on our university.
That's right.
450 students. So it's a great program, great growth. And I'm going to throw this out there too. We've never pushed any sort of marketing out. This has all been done word of mouth over the last few years. So with that, this BAAS is in organizational leadership. It's a completely competency-based program. There are 99 competencies mapped to 120 semester credit hours. It's delivered completely 100% online. These are subscription models. It's $750 per term. The terms are 7 weeks. The students can take 2 classes within that. If they finish those 2 classes, they can accelerate and take more at no extra cost. So we have some students who've completed as many as 10 classes, believe it or not, in a 7-week model, but most of our students average 2 to 3.
I call it the Netflix model of education, right? Just subscription-based, $750 flat rate.
Absolutely. You can binge educate yourself all the way. So with that, we are SACS approved. And the competencies are defined by faculty and advisory board. And if you're one of those individuals who are looking at starting a program, we cannot stress the importance of working with an advisory board to do this, because these are so workforce related, and you definitely need that input. To restate, we were launched again in the spring of 2014 with 7. We're currently around 450, and we've just seen exponential growth with it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carlos here.
All right, thank you, James. You can keep an eye on the questions for me. I would appreciate it. All right, so before I even, get started on the numbers, I just want to say that, this study, because we are publishing the results in March in the Journal of Competency-Based Education, this study was made possible through a partnership between 3 areas: the Institute for Competency-Based Education, our Ier office in terms of getting the enrollment numbers, etc., and then our financial services office, just helping us truly build a P&L, a profit and loss analysis. And so the numbers I'm going to show you is some aggregated formats of those results. Okay. So before we even go into the financials, semester credit hour production per academic year. So remember, like James was saying, we have 6 7-week terms per academic year. So it's not truly just that fall, spring, summer terms, right? In each fall, we had 2 of these 7-week accelerated modules, I guess. So we had 6 terms running throughout the year. So we needed to map those back for each academic year. We started with our semester credit hour production for the first year was 580. And as you can see from our growth by 2017, we're had a massive spike of almost 800% with over 14,000 semester credit hour production in fall 2017. It's important to mention here that in a traditional model, you're looking at that fall as that term that will bring in the majority of the numbers. But for our CBE program, it's interesting. It was actually the spring semester that brought in the highest head count, simply because we had 2 of these 7-week terms running from winter mini and then into the spring term. So it's just a new modality, and we had to work out the numbers to show you this information. So by 2017, more than 14,000 semester credit hours. Similarly, because we are in Texas and everything revolves around formula funding, we wanted to map out our full-time student equivalencies generated. And FDSC is generated off the semester credit hour production, okay? So you'll see that it has a similar growth curve. So from the semester credit hour production, basically, 1 full-time student equivalency is equal to 15 semester credit hours for fall and spring, and then for summer is 12 semester credit hours. So mapping it back, you can see here that first term, that first year, 2014, which was basically our pilot year, James, that when we were trying to get, all the workflows, all the processes, everything up and running as we move forward to scale. So we started with 46 FTSE, and then by 2017, we have over 1,000 FTSE per year. And the reason I'm showing you this slide is because you will see how this has implications in terms of our formula funding revenue that's coming in because of this program. Now, I know that's going to be different from some of you that are in other states, but still, you're going to have to look at your own state and see where the revenue is coming from. Okay, so let's get into the financials. Okay, so revenue for this program, as James mentioned, we only have that $750 flat rate tuition, right? No more, no less. Not like your traditional programs where you have your tuition, fees, maybe cost of books.
Thank you.
Everything's included in that $750 for our students. When they're paying, they're only paying that $750. And like the other charts, you see here that the revenue coming in when we were in that pilot year was approximately $60,000. By 2017, as we have scaled, we're at $1.3 million for this program. And again, just an extreme growth in revenue coming from that $750 flat rate. Just like revenue, direct costs have grown from the program, right? Again, almost $200,000 in costs that first year, and now we're at $1.1 million for our direct costs. And the reason you see these pre-launch figures for 2013, I just wanted to show you some of the, the grant funding we had that 2013, and that was used for faculty stipends to develop the program.
The true seed money that allowed the program to start.
Correct. So we did have some seed money for the curriculum.
Absolutely.
So now that I've shown you the direct costs, I wanted to show you the breakdown of the cost allocation. Okay. So that 2013 pre-launch, everything was, that allocation is for faculty, right? 100% of those funds were used for curriculum development. Both TNUC and South Texas faculty members drove to Austin to build the program out, everything from the core all the way to the advanced courses. 2014, our first year that the program launched, 32% was faculty members, 23% support and staff. And then you see this big chunk, 45% that first year, what we're titling service agreements. Okay, and that was the funds we were spending on platforms trying to build the program. So you have our predictive analytics platform, some work we tried to do with financial aid software. And then, of course, the education resources that we had partnered with educational vendors. And I bring that up because it will be important as you look on our forecast for 2018 and 2019, as we have now moved to OER, so we no longer have all those costs associated with education resources.
Absolutely. And those costs, if you don't mind me throwing it in there,
Go ahead.
ballooned to over $300,000 from an annual basis with Pearson alone. And so it was really eating up a lot of revenue. And getting rid of that has saved the university a lot of money in terms.
Correct. And it also allowed our faculty members to revisit their courses, revisit all the material that was in the courses, and to really rebuild it. Correct. You'll see that by 2015 through 2017, that the majority of the direct costs are associated with our faculty line. Support staff has stayed rather constant throughout the last 3 years. And then service agreements, this is still us with those education vendors. Pearson, for example, still had a big chunk of that direct cost allocation. Now, a lot of people ask me about the indirect costs for these type of programs. And so remember, right, most of these indirect costs are things that are services for the entire university. So they're not only serving our students, but students from other programs as well. For example, financial aid, IER, all these different departments. But we still wanted to map out those indirect costs, particularly for these programs that do require staff time because of the manual nature of financial aid or the registrars, for example. So not surprisingly, I think our indirect costs has stayed constant over time. If you look from 2014 to 2017, it's been approximately $200,000 of indirect costs. And again, I wanted to truly show you what those indirect costs are for. Okay, so we have 2014. We have overhead, senior management, service agreement, and support staff. Senior management is an important indirect cost allocation because for these, I guess, accelerated programs, new innovative programs, it does require leadership to be involved. Okay, so
from the beginning.
So we thought it was important for us to map it back that we had, a stakeholder in leadership that was influential to get this program off the ground, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that 2013 and 2014. For us, that senior management role was really important. You will see as we move into 2015, 2016, 2017, that senior management role has declined now that the program is operational.
Absolutely. And the culture is being built on it, and it's now readily accessible and accepted by the faculty and staff on campus.
Correct. Then service agreements show up here because when the program first started, they put all those the education vendor expenses and all those things as an indirect cost, but as they realized that these costs were for the TAP program in particularly, they moved those to direct costs in 2015 to 2017. Okay? But now support services, look how they have started going up, especially because of the manual nature of this program. In 2014, when we first started, 21%, right? That's when we didn't know all the we were putting patches on things, right? So support services from 21% have moved up in our indirect costs to 45% in 2015, then again 59% in 2016, and they've gone down a little bit, 55% in 2017. They make up more than half of our indirect cost allocation on the program. Because of that, because they make more than half, we decided to actually drill down on those support services. So we actually broke down what were those support services. Financial aid, okay. You'll see here that 43 in 2013 when we were first launching, financial aid was crucial for us because of all the manual nature that was required with financial aid. In fact, as the program keeps growing, the financial aid office actually has one full-time dedicated staff member for CBE for the CBE program alone. Okay, so consider that. Okay, Ier Reporting. This was so much different than our traditional the statewide reporting for all the other courses. They had to truly figure out how to do veteran benefits, how to do the 20th class date, right? Because of these innovative models. So they also were quite the amount, as we needed to provide all the numbers to the coordinating board who wanted to see the effectiveness of these programs. Surprisingly, the registrar's office, which I would have thought when we were doing this analysis would have been a big cost allocation, they actually managed to automate a lot of the things that they were doing. So they managed to decrease their costs and keep it constant over time. And then we were applying academic affairs, a small percentage to our leadership team that still needs to be involved with some day-to-day aspects and representing the institution when it comes to the CBE program.
And I'm going to jump in here on that part too, because I think it's really important to note that, while the registrar's office was able to automate so many of the things that they were doing to make themselves effective, financial aid was not. And it wasn't the fact that they weren't thinking outside the box. Now, when you're talking about software, most of the software which is used by financial aid is truly based upon traditional semesters. And when you're looking at software for financial aid for universities that is based not in a traditional semester, right now we've met with our financial aid team. There's truly only one option out there. That option is about $500,000 a year annually. So it's really not an option at all. So it is truly laborious at the financial aid position. That's the one thing that we would tell you. Make sure that you really reinforce that position with a full-time employee, like Carlos said, because you're going to need it.
Yeah, and we actually tried that big cost that you saw in the direct cost for service agreement. We actually tried to partner with a financial aid vendor, and if you want to hear about that experience, you can reach out to me because we truly moved away from that. We're going to have to get our banner, people's all these different companies to truly change their current offerings, their current softwares to make this process less laborious, I guess, if you want to call it. Okay, let's see. All right, so I showed you the revenues, I showed you the expenses. So I met something that we're calling, I guess, an efficiency ratio. How much we were spending to generate $1 of revenue. Okay, that's where our efficiency ratio is. And the lower it is, the better we're doing, right? The closer we're doing to breaking even. In 2014, to generate $1 of revenue, it took $6.34, all right, to generate $1. So we were definitely in the red that first year. But you can see that as it continues to scale, our efficiency ratio starts to go down. And then we're at 1.78. And then all of a sudden at 1.29. And by 2017, we're actually already at 1.05. So once it's at $1, right, we're breaking even, right? You generate $1 of revenue and you expense $1 of revenue. So we're closer than ever to profitability at that point, okay? However, that is considering without formula funding revenue. So what happened with our formula funding revenue? Remember the full-time student equivalency I was talking about? So here are the results. So in 2014 and 2014, we were generating semester credit hour production. And the way it works in Texas, we get the amount for a biennium. So for 2 years, the same amount. So just in those first 2 years of operations of the program, it generated almost $200,000 per year for formula funding. Okay, so now let's get into our net profit and loss. Okay, I'm gonna start with the white portion first. All right, don't get scared on me, but our leadership team knew that the first couple of years of the program there was gonna be a loss. It was expected that these programs we're gonna go into the green as they scaled. Okay. So that first year we had a loss. That second, 2015, we had another large loss. But then as the program started to scale, look what's happening to the cost, right? It's starting to go down. So 2016, it went down quite a bit, and then by 2017, we were down only $66K, already almost in the green. All right. Now that's before our formula funding consideration. Okay. When you consider the same analysis after formula funding, you can see that by 2016, we were in the red $48K, but then by 2017, we're producing a profit of $127,000. That's why I wanted to show you both analysis. And I will say, as you see the forecast, that we're forecasting that by that 5th year of operation, the program is in the green already. All right. So, this is a lot of numbers. The article will come out in the Journal of Competency-Based Education that will explain a lot of these formulas, I guess, to a greater extent. But this is how we went about generating, I guess, estimating our break-even point, okay? Taking our revenue and simply dividing it by our total full-time student equivalency would provide that revenue per student. And then we estimated a number of students we needed to break even. So in our case, we needed 360 students to break even, okay? And then we multiplied that by the year, right? And the year holds fall, spring, and summer. So we multiplied that by 3. So in our book, we needed 1,080 students, full-time student equivalencies to break even, all right? So then we simply multiply the revenue per student times our estimated number of full-time student equivalency to get the estimated revenue we needed to break even. And so you compare that forecasted number minus your latest year expenses, and then you should be able to estimate when your program should break even. We've designed these formulas in an Excel document that does it automatically for us. So we're well aware that 360 was our bottom line in terms of breaking even, and I'm happy to say we're at 460. Our financial services office is running this P&L analysis for the new year, and so we'll share those results on how the program is performing this 5th year of operation as well.
Absolutely.
But for now, since we do not have those 2018 numbers, we made a forecast for 2018 and 2019. And to be honest with you, the numbers, the growth of the program for us was not sustainable. Growing 300%, 400%. So in our forecast, we simply estimated a growth of 25%. For each year. I can tell you that the growth has actually been much more than that. We're growing 100 students, I guess, per term, something like that. So a very modest forecast, okay? So what we're estimating for 2018 without formula funding considerations is that we will be in the green for $51K for 2018. And then for 2019, as the program continues to scale, we'll be over with $210,000 in profit. Okay?
And that's without the formula funding.
Correct. These numbers are without formula funding consideration. Now, why did James mention that? Because formula funding has a true direct impact into our program. Remember, these students are coming in and they can, for the same flat rate of $750, they can accelerate, right? So they're producing significantly more semester credit or production than other programs, right? They have 6 terms throughout the year to enroll, and the results just have been amazing. So from $200K that was generated in our first biennium, by 2018 and 2019, we're forecasting that the formula funding is going to be close to $800,000 just for this program alone. And so when you look at the entire equation together with formula funding, you can see that by 2017, we were at 127K, but in 2018 and 2019, because of that growth in formula funding revenue, we would be in the green by $800,000, and then 2019 we would be hitting that $1 million in profits. Okay.
Absolutely. And I want to throw this out there. Those numbers, when you look at it in that way, and you're like going, hey, I've eaten dollars year 1, I'm eating dollars in year 2, I'm eating dollars in year 3. Now when you get into year 4 and 5, especially in the state of Texas with formula funding, and some states have formula funding that's a little bit different than ours, and we understand that. But when you put that into play, something you're talking about, I've got a net revenue gain now. I've never lost a dollar with this amount of dollars that are coming in at that point.
Correct. By 2019, by 2018, actually, basically we paid for those initial 4 years.
Yeah.
So talk about return on investment for your money.
Wow.
It's very, very clear that these programs, if they continue to scale, they will be profitable for your university in the long run.
And I want to throw this in there when we're talking about profitability within education by today's standards. It is so critical when we're looking at programs. Can they be economically sustainable over time now? Long ago, when we were looking at launching educational programs, we could start a program and say, hey, if it only gets to 60 or 70 students, that's great. That's great for the university. That's great for the area that we're serving. But at the same points, that's having to be balanced with dollars that are coming in and out. And as you're looking at, this is what presidents are looking at within university settings. What can they do to deliver that can truly benefit the students and at the same time actually make the university money that can help out in those other programs that are not going to be revenue positive?
Right.
All right, and some things to consider when you're looking at this with your fifth year break-even point. Support services, we've really talked about that. You're going to need some investments in both time and capital in that to make that happen from an organizational standard. And I'll get to the staffing in just a second. From a program scale, is understanding when it is that you're going to look at starting to break even from your cost and then from your total revenue that you're generating. Playing into or keep into consideration that formula funding. And in the beginning, it's not there. We got it. It's always delayed. I get my check 2 years after I've actually earned it. But it's there and it's coming. And keep that in mind as you're looking for it. And then the staffing, as Carlos stated so absolutely eloquently earlier, it is imperative that you put senior administrators at the table from the beginning, from the staffing perspective. They have to be the one that helps steer the culture and get it started. And we were really lucky and blessed to have someone like Shonda Gibson, who was here, that really kept this going in times when it was tough. And now we're looking really good. And we've got a great group of people here who have jumped on board and really kept it going.
So there is a study that was already done, I think a year back or a few years back, from the RPK group. And so what they found in the analysis of 5 different institutions is that institutions building CBE programs should expect to break even by the 5th year of operation. Basically, our analysis demonstrates that it concurs to their findings, and you can see it through our numbers. As our financial services analyzes 2018, we'll continue to share that data as well. And then they're also doing us a favor, I guess, of analyzing a similar completer program, but in a traditional setting, targeting adult learners. And we're going to analyze the financial health and performance of both programs to see how they compare. I'll conclude with, CBE, at least in the state of Texas, is proving to be one of the most effective models to serve adult learners. And it is a strategy that is mentioned specifically in our state's higher education plan. So I encourage you, if you don't have a program yet, to look into this model. And we're always available to answer any questions you may have about our program.
Absolutely. Let me throw in a last thought too as well. When you're building these, definitely truly consider something that we should have considered early on versus using an outside vendor. Go OER, go OER, go OER. It's really going to be able to save you a lot of money, especially as it scales and you get more students to it. And it is easy. It is easy just to outsource that in the beginning. But if you do that work up front, it's going to happen faster than 5 years. Our model shows that. Had we cut that cost even earlier, we would have become even more profitable early on. And so this is a great model. This is a sustainable model, and it really embraces the true needs of these adult learners. They need it to be innovative. They need it to be on their own time, and they need it to be flexible and affordable. And this gives them all those options and still allows the university to function and gain a profit from it. And so it becomes exactly as Covey talks about. It's a win-win scenario for everyone involved. And those are my thoughts on that.
Thank you, James. All right, speaking of thoughts, 30 minutes. I guess I'm too used to a 30 minutes presentation, not a 40-minute presentation. So we would like to hear from you, actually. Give us your thoughts, on the analysis, or if you want to discuss anything related to CBE, That's what we're here for. Okay, from Elena, to what extent is your CBE growth a matter of new students versus transfer of existing students from your non-CBE modalities?
That's a great question. Early on, a lot of our students, we cannibalized our old program. We're not going to say that we didn't. Early on, that was some of it coming in. But then as we moved into year 2, the growth was from truly outside sources. Our numbers for the traditional BAAS program sustained themselves at that point. They no longer fell, and we were truly bringing in outside students of it. And keep in mind, I know we mentioned it just briefly, that's with no marketing. It was truly word of mouth with that growth. And so, yes, we saw a little bit of that in the beginning, but then since then it has been truly all new outside students coming to play.
Yeah, I'll just looking at, they're new students. So think about it this way. In Texas alone, there's over 3 million, right? 3 million students with, residents that have some college credit but no degree to show for the work, right?
Yeah.
So think about the ROI for them in terms of higher education. They had all these credits, whether that's 50, 60, 90, 150, 180, that they never saw that return on investment. They never got their degree because every time they try to go back, they wouldn't take these credits, or it would take too long, or it was too pricey, right? These models are built for that. Our program will take up to 90 semester credit hours, and they'll take the final 30 semester credit hours to complete the program. It's at a flat rate, and then they can accelerate time to completion. So yes, like James said, an initial portion of students came from our traditional AAS program, but now as we continue to scale, for the most part is new students coming in that are now seeing the return on investment from those first credit hours that they had a long time ago. We have students that are returning after 10, 15 years of being out of higher education.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see what else do we have. Thank you, Callie, for that comment. We appreciate it. Very good question from Shannon. How did you decide on the $750 flat rate?
So that's really interesting. And so the individual at the coordinating board, Van, he's the one that gave us that number. But then as we mapped this number out, it all came back to a TAB formula at the time. And TAB, for those of you out there who are like, what is TAB? It's the Texas Affordable Baccalaureate. We had to offer a degree under a certain number total. And that number has changed over the years, and now it's about $15,000. And so if you do just the 2 classes.
So I'll repeat that, $15,000 for the entire degree. Right,
the entire
not
degree.
By year, for the entire degree program.
Yeah, and so if you use the 2 classes at $750 over a period of 3 years, you get under this $15,000 for an entire degree, and that's with not anyone eating extra at the table, as we call it. Where they're expediting and grabbing 4 and 5 classes at a time. So it really gives them a great cost option. And back to a point that Carlos just said a while ago, and I wanted to come back to just real fast, that becomes a real easy sell for an adult learner who's coming in and saying, I have that 75 credits, but everywhere I'm going, they're going to take 30 here, they're going to take 16 here, they're going to take 5 here, whatever that might be. And when they come into you and you're like, we offer this in a BAAS program, we're taking every one of those credits and applying them to a degree, they're like, please sign me up. It doesn't slow them down and accentuates all the learning that they've taken place over the years, and the investment of time and capital by them.
So Shannon, the way I look at it, right, $750 a term, right, and you have 6 of these terms running throughout the year. So the most a student will pay in 1 year is $4,500, right? Just right there, think about how much employers give in tuition reimbursement. I think the ceiling is $5,000. So we're under that ceiling, right? So what the coordinating board said, okay, we want it to be below $15,000. So at $750 a year would be $4,500. We, because of the acceleration component, we don't believe, we have data that shows that a student could complete the program from scratch for approximately $13,000 if they would start the program from nothing, right?
Yeah, from zero credit.
So that's where that $750 flat rate comes from. And then students don't have any costs related to books as well.
And, from presidents who may not be number crunchers or anyone who's in a position of authority, you look at it from and I'm 47, right, from that age group. Why would people shop at store A or store B when store B is so expensive and store A is so cheap? But it's a matter of economy of scale. And so if you get 5 times the amount of people coming into store A, even though it's cheaper, you're going to make more money in the long term. So this becomes a real economy of scale for the university.
Okay. Callie said $750 for 7 weeks. Yes, that is correct. The student comes in, they pay $750. They sign up initially for 2 courses. So we don't allow them, right, to sign up for 10 immediately. We limit them to 2 courses. And then depending on the student, they'll meet with their success coach or the director, and then they'll either allow them to accelerate or not.
Yeah.
We don't allow them to accelerate after week 5.
Week 5. And that's just simply because it's A, B, fail. It's truly mastery level. And so there's no incompletes because of all the issues within financial aid that occur. So it's a matter of, we don't want them to start a course in, late week 5 if they're probably not going to make it. However, we simply do. We do allow a student to petition against that. Hey, I've done 15 years of work in math. I know there's only 2 weeks left, but I can definitely do it. The advisor and them will work together. And so they do allow those in those cases.
Right. And now this presentation talks about, the return on investment to the institution, right? But we do have presentations related to the return on investment of the student, right? You've probably seen some of my, the dashboard that I have developed. What we're showing is that students are graduating from the degree in a year because they're bringing that large credit loads, right? And then they're completing the degree for under $6,000, okay?
About 1.4 years currently is where we're at with that too, with the 6,000. We got the next question, which is, does the flat rate include fees, textbooks, et cetera? There are no fees associated with the program and the textbooks because we're open education resources. There's no textbooks. So it's a true $750 every 7 weeks. And that really is another selling point because they're not getting hit with, $800 worth of books for a semester. So this is, again, working adults, limited cash options. We have so many of our students that don't use financial aid in any way. They're paying for this straight out of their own pocket.
Or their employer.
Or their employer. And so it becomes really critical that they can simply say, hey, I know what my costs are going to be term after term, and it's a flat rate.
And so actually when the program first started, all the core curriculum, the costs were built into the program, so they wouldn't have to pay. The advanced courses at the beginning, they did have to pay. There were still, books that were under $25, $50 books. But now as we began to scale, we took in the decision in South Texas. Dr. Miller says here, move to OER, right? So South Texas College has also gone to OER. We should have done that from the start.
Yeah.
Okay. Open education resources, faculty members, work directly finding those resources, and now our program, both core curriculum and the advanced level courses, textbooks are free for students in the program. Callie Morris. So Callie, and when you say accelerate, that means adding new competencies. So Callie, remember, we're SACT accredited, so we map back to the credit hour, right? So each course is, like your regular course is 3 semester credit hours, and that course can have one competency or can have multiple competencies, right? And so they're finishing those first 2 courses, right, I guess?
Yeah. And
then they're adding one more course, so 3 semester credit hours that can have multiple or just single competencies as well. So, but we do map back, okay? Will your formulas be explained further in the CBE Journal article? Yes, we go into depth in terms of what everything means. We point you towards resources, and then besides this one, so I'll share the link. The early version is going to be posted in March, but I can share the early version with you, Ashley. So read that one, but also read the RPK group report. I wish I had the name right now, but there has been analysis done on 5 different CBE programs. Okay. You're welcome, Ashley.
Absolutely.
Maybe, Callie. I'm not. How do you have the link before I do? No, I also have the link, but I will share it out to the entire group. The presentation is recorded, so we can share that the link as well.
I'm a Google sleuth. I love it.
Let me see what else. Ashley had a good question. How can we cut back on support costs? What processes can we be automated?
Ooh.
Wow.
That's a great question.
That's a good one, and could probably be a 1-hour webinar.
It truly is, and I think it's going to depend upon the internal processes of your own. Oh wow, we just had a crash here. Can hopefully, because we can't see anything. Looks like our computer may have crashed here. Can you hear us, everyone? No way for it. No. Yeah, we lost them. Okay.
Guys, for some reason my computer just crashed. So if you're still hearing this, yep, my computer just crashed. Okay. Aren't you grateful for technology? Okay. So that's gonna have to be the end of the presentation. I had a slide after this one showing that Callie Morrison will be
up next
in March. So I will forward you her presentation.
Within the next. Yeah, we'll send that out in the next few days. Absolutely.
Okay,
you have that again.
We do apologize. We don't know what happened. My computer.
The blue screen of death.
Yeah,
right?
came up. So, anyways, reach out to us for questions, and then thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you so much. Sorry for the issue at the very end. I thought it was a very good one. Great questions.
Yeah.
Would love to have any more. If you choose to, please send us an email. Yeah. We'll gladly answer any of the questions that we may have missed. And again, forgive us for the technological error that happened.
All right, everyone. Take care.